computer and then I'll send it to you. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for helping in. It's a great pleasure to have you all here. If you don't know me, my name is Ryan Tumanema. I'm a proficient medical writer. I write a whole lot of articles, a lot of medical publications, a lot of research-based projects for a couple of healthcare companies and a couple of clients I work personally. And apart from my services as a medical writer, I'm also a radiography student based in Nigeria, and I'm also in my third year, 300 level. So today I have an amazing guest speaker today, Stephanie. She's a fourth year medical student. We're gonna talk about all med talks. So are you ready? Hey,
I am.
Stephanie, could
Nice.
you
Good to see you.
introduce yourself to the audience?
Of course. Well, my name is Stephanie Moss. I'm a fourth year medical student in Chicago, and I am very excited to be here. I love sharing my journey through medicine and beyond, both on a website, a podcast, and on social media. So thank you for letting me be here and talking with you and your audience.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. So tell me, what made you to specialize in psychiatric?
Hmm. I actually did my undergraduate training in psychology. So I got a degree in psychology because I really wanted to understand kind of my own intergenerational traumas and childhood traumas I had gone through myself. And I really wanted to understand what had happened and kind of understanding just the world around me and why people act certain ways. And then through medical school, and then I actually was debating between,
Okay.
sorry? Yeah, and I debated,
Okay. So I want to
go ahead.
continue.
Oh, I almost did my doctoral in psychology, but I decided to go to medicine, into the medicine route, because I wanted to combine the understanding of the mind and the body and how they each influence each other. And that's a lot what they do in psychiatry, is spending a lot of time understanding how your life and your traumas and your health is affected by your mental health, and how your mental health then impacts your physical health. So that's why I enjoy that field.
Amazing, amazing. So I see you own a podcast. You also own a YouTube channel, and you're doing amazingly well on all
Yeah.
social media platforms. So, as a student, a medical student, being a medical student is a full-time job, So how do you combine those equations, like social media and your studies as a medical student? How are
That's
you
a
doing that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think this has been just a little bit at a time throughout my entire experience. A lot of the ways that I started is just through writing in my journal, in my virtual journal, my experiences, my emotions, my struggles in school. And then when I started realizing is other medical students were also struggling with similar things, with mental health, with finances, with different things. And so that's when I decided to actually make a blog, medpsychmoss.com, and kind of connect it to a social media, because I learned that's how a lot of individuals communicate in our generation, in our age range. So I would then post my journal writings in a blog, and that was really helpful. But over time, and it's been now 2 or 3 years of doing that. Just this past month, I decided to do a podcast because I I found that a lot of people don't have time to sit and read. Like you said, medical school is hard and we don't have a lot of time. But a lot of times we're driving to school, or when we're cleaning our house or doing our laundry, a lot of people are starting to use podcasts. So what I've decided is I will go through and read what I already wrote in my blog and add in other things, kind of as a commentary to kind of add more things. More recently, since I am connecting with a lot of other doctors and medical students who also have health conditions, I'm going to be actually interviewing them and kind of doing a combination, because my podcast is called Life as a Patient Doctor. So both, because we see a lot of We see from an interesting experience when we're also a patient, but also in medicine. So I'll be starting to interview just this week some other medical students and doctors, and I'll add that to the podcast.
Amazing,
Fourth year is a
amazing.
lot easier. Fourth year, we have a lot of time off. So that's why
Yeah,
I'm doing all these things right now.
amazing, amazing. So how many years is left for you to graduate to become a psychiatric medical doctor?
It is 4 years. So it is 4 years in residency, and then you can do a fellowship in
Okay.
either child and adolescent psychiatry, addiction, forensics. There's a lot of other things that are about 1 to 2 years after if you would like to specialize, but you don't have to.
Okay. Do you want to specialize?
I'm not sure. I think so. I'm looking at child and adolescent psychiatry just because I really like interacting with teens and families as a whole. But thankfully, I also have other interests in reproductive mental health and geriatric mental health. So I have a lot of other interests. Thankfully, I don't have to choose right now.
Okay, so I grabbed something from you. You say you interrogate with all the medical students and all the medical, doctors out there about some health related basic um stuffs. So tell us, you know, looking at the word right now, what do you think is the major curse of health chronic illnesses out there?
Mm. For me, I like to think all as stress or trauma. I see them as interchangeably because trauma doesn't have to be a fire, a house fire, or a shooting. It can be anything. It can be um, being with an abusive, verbally abusive, physically abusive, sexually abusive individual. There's so many ways that trauma can exist in the world, and our body reacts with stress. We have high amounts of cortisol, high amounts of norepinephrine. And then if we have stress over and over and over, that impacts both our mental health and our physical health. So a lot of the health conditions out there are very much caused by just this chronic or very strong stress in our life.
Amazing, amazing. Through more insights about mental health and how people can manage their stress out there.
Mm. There are definitely many ways to manage stress. Right. A lot of times people talk about breathing techniques, which a lot of people don't like right away, but the whole reason that breathing techniques are helpful is because it tells our body to calm down. It activates our parasympathetic system, which is the opposite of our trauma response. Our trauma response is our sympathetic system, but then while breathing deeply is our parasympathetic. So a lot of breathing techniques and focusing on our physical body and breath is actually what can calm us down and allow us to focus on what's happening instead of just reacting to that stress.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I've
But
heard
there's
about
there's
that.
a lot of other things like exercise, eating right,
Okay.
getting away from the trauma. Of course, there's many others.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you in fourth year, and I believe that you have a lot of challenges you faced, since your first year, your second year, and third year, and you bypass them and the ones you're facing right now. So tell us your journey, as an advocate for trauma, informed about mental, illnesses, physical and sexual health, basis. So tell us about your journey as a medical student and also an advocate of healthcare, basics.
Of course, thank you. I definitely, when I came into medical school, I was a first doctor or even anything to do with medicine in my family. No one else except for my husband. My husband and I were both married. We both went into medical school together, but neither of our family members were doctors or nurses, nothing like that. So we came in not knowing how to do anything. So a lot of things that we everything that we would do, we had to learn to advocate for ourselves, to make mentorship. We knew how important that by using our own voice, we could get help. help with tutoring, help with struggling. And if we didn't raise our voice, then that's how we would struggle more. And so that was kind of like the beginning of advocacy, is just myself learning how to stand up for myself and my own needs. My biggest challenge was in second year of medical school, where I actually diagnosed myself with health conditions. Give me a moment.
All right.
Okay, so during my second year of medical school, I diagnosed myself, or I recognized a health condition in our textbooks that we were learning about. And I was like, oh, these things, these pains and these conditions are not normal. This is actually a health condition. So again, using my own voice, saying, going to doctors and saying, hey, I think I'm sick. I think I have these conditions that I've been struggling with for many years. At first, they said, no, don't worry, you're just a medical student. They get anxious about everything. But again, by using my own voice and going to a different doctor, I was able to find that I do have a health condition, and I did end up getting surgery. And so that was kind of, that was like a little step. And then when I started studying for the step 1 exam, which is between my second and third year, I was having so much chronic stress in my life, recently diagnosed with a health condition, struggling with surgery, things like that, that I was like, I need to take a break. This is too much. I'm not being successful in my studying for STEP. I'm overstressed. So I took actually a leave of absence. I was really scared that I was the only one, because no one talks about it. No one talks about not doing well in school and having to take a leave. But thankfully, through again raising my voice, saying, letting other people know that, hey, I'm taking a leave because I'm having health problems, I was able to connect with other students who were in the exact same or very similar position as me. So that was kind of the click of realizing, like, oh, through using my voice, through sharing my voice, sharing my own challenges, then I can connect with other students to help them feel not alone. Because when people feel alone, they get really sad. And that's how we get stronger health conditions. Um, that's where we have people having burnout, physicians and medical students committing suicide. It gets very dangerous really quickly. And so that's why, to kind of combat that, to prevent other individuals from getting to that very difficult place, I'm trying to combat it early by sharing my experience, sharing the taboos that are normally in medical school or in just in general in medicine and healthcare, to show that we are not alone, that we are people too, and life happens. So that's a little bit of my journey, including failing STEP, not finally getting accommodations, finding I have a disability, yada, 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 a lot of things. But the biggest thing I want to come out with is that it's helpful to find a community of people who understand what you're going through and are able to share the struggles and the truth. Because that's the problem with a lot of social media, is we just want to see the good stuff. We just want to see getting that white coat or getting that diploma, but we don't like showing the struggles and the pain. And that's what's real. That's what happens. And that's what happens in real life. So that's kind of where my advocacy has driven me to share the experience of someone who does go with good troubles, but is able to keep going, and how I keep going.
Wow, that's amazing. You're really doing a great job,
Thank
speaking
you.
for those people that can't speak for themselves, and that's great. That's really great.
Thank you.
So I did a research recently about that suicidal thoughts you talked about amongst medical students committing suicide and everything. So what is your advice? What is your take on this? Because there are many medical students that are going to watch this video, and most of them are passing through some traumatic situations and some terrible situation they're passing through, including me and including you too. So what
Yeah.
is your advice for them? Can you give them hope so they'll know that, hey, I think I have hope. I think I can
Yes.
do this. I can do I can do that. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is knowing you're not alone, and knowing that there will always be the next day. Today can be super dark, super painful, super whatever, if that is failing an exam, not being able to understand the topic, not getting into your dream residency or job, that happens. And unfortunately, it's a part of life, but that doesn't mean that you won't be able to do better next time. And I think that's the biggest thing, is some we sometimes get scared to ask for help, but it's important to ask for help no matter if you're struggling for studying or struggling with your mental health. It's I have surprised myself when I have been able to ask someone or tell someone like, hey, I'm really scared that I'll fail out of medical school. Can you help me? And people were able to give me a new mental health therapist, or push back my exam for another day, or to try to figure out how it can best help you. And I think it's important that you know that you're worth it. Even though it might not seem like it, you are worth it. You are meaningful. You do have a purpose. Maybe if you don't see it right now, but your life matters.
Wow, that's a great nugget over there.
So,
I believe that they'll definitely learn something from this. So you know, your journey is really impressive to me because I love the way you're like being a protector to other
mhm,
medical students and all the medical doctors out there. So
mhm.
can you tell the audience and me too about in your own perspective about the US healthcare system? Is it favoring you? And how important are psychiatric doctors in the United States of America?
That's an interesting question. Well, I think if you can ask anyone in the world, they know that the American healthcare system is not good. It doesn't value people who are sick. It doesn't prevent people from getting sick. They're there as you're at the very end. You're very, very sick. That's when we have that's where we put a lot of our financial in the hospitals when you're the sickest. We need to really go, and that's why primary care is so, so important. And I almost went, and I'm still trying to battle, and I want to be primary care because we need to catch these things early. And there is some money going into that. It's less money, of course, but that's where a lot of us help medical students in our generation, and the future medical. We know that it's important to catch things early because we have phenomenal medicine. But what's the point of using that phenomenal medicine if people are struggling for years and years and years? It's important to help them before they get extremely sick, because we all know when someone's very, very sick, they their mental health struggles, they might not be able to work, they might not be able to go to school, versus if we get them earlier, then they can keep going to school or keep working, keep having a difficult, but they can have a life. So that is kind of some thoughts I have about healthcare.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. That's cool. Um, Stephanie, you've been an amazing guest speaker thus far,
Thank
and
you.
I believe that the audience would definitely grab something from this. So when you were talking about your journey, in med school up until now, you talked about leave and absence of med school.
Yeah.
Can you just throw more insights about that?
Oh, yes.
What are the reasons? What are the reasons to take a leave of absence in med school, and how important is that?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you asked. I just created a podcast this week about just this topic because a lot of people have questions on it, but there's not a lot of information out there. So I'm trying to help that. So there's two different types of leaves of absences. There's academic, and then there's personal. Academic is where maybe you have to take the class over again or the case over again, or you just keep failing. That's usually, it's very focused on academics, and it's usually the school tells you you have to take the leave. Now, personal, it can be for anything. It can be for your own health, be health for a family member, a death of a family member. It can be for work. There are so many reasons why you might take some time, burnout. Um, and then once you take it, if you're in the United States, it's really challenging because your student loans are removed. And that means that you now have to figure out how to get finances. You need to get, you need find a job to be able to work and pay for food and rent, or maybe you have to go live in with your families. And so from my experience, I took a personal leave of absence, and then I didn't, my husband was still in medical school, so I couldn't just move somewhere else. And unfortunately, just his student loans was not enough for us to live. So as I took a leave off to take care of my own health, I also had to find a job that would make enough money. And also during this time, I also needed to study for STEP. So multiple things, studying while mental health, while struggling in physical health, so many things combined where it was a very challenging physically and emotionally and financial experience for me. And I'm telling others about it because I don't want people to not go in prepared. I want people to know all the things that they should look out for. Maybe that they might lose their health insurance if you're in the United States. So many things you have to be aware of before you take leave of absence. I wasn't aware, and this is why I'm sharing the experience. So hopefully other people won't struggle the way I did during my leave.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's great. That's really great. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
explaining that for us. So you're married, and that's cool. So how are you balancing marriage, your mental health? So
Yeah.
tell me, how you doing that? How you doing that? You're going to med school, you work, and you have a podcast. You're doing amazingly well, and you're married.
Mhm.
Marriage alone takes up a whole lot of responsibilities out there. So how are you trying to like balance those equations? And
I
what are
s-
your advice to
yeah.
people in your own situation?
Mm, I think for me, my marriage is what keeps me alive and keep going. My husband, he has supported me from undergrad, and he has always also wanted to go into medicine. He's currently a first year doctor in neurology, and we motivated each other. There were times where he struggled a lot and I was there to help him. There are obviously times I've struggled and he's been there. We've been each other's support system. So that's really important. I think that's important. It's important to know that if you are in medicine, you have to have at least one support person. It doesn't have to be a married individual. It can be a best friend. It can be a parent. It can be a sibling, but you have to have at least one person because studying 12 hours a day or more is isolating. It is painful. So you need someone to take your mind off those things and do something that is not medicine related and can help you feel better and reconnect with life. And so my husband and we go on walks on our days off with our dogs, another support, emotional support. Um, we watch movies together, we cook together. So we do a lot of things that allows us to do stuff outside of medicine. We still talk a lot about medicine. I will not lie about that. It is a struggle to not talk about medicine, but in some sense that is nice. Right now, I'm able to do the podcast and things because I cannot hang out with him. He's currently right now, today, he's on a 16-hour call shift. And today is a Sunday, it's a weekend. So I have all of Sunday to podcasts, to do social media, to clean the house, because I don't need to study right now. So I'm in this weird position, but once I go to my first year next year, then it'll be a little bit more challenging and I'll move back. I won't do as much podcasting because I want to spend my free time with him.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. It's great that you're, you have a support system, and as a good advice to the audience that you should have at least one support system, to back you up in everything you're doing, in your journey as a medical professional or a medical student there. So just have one supporting system. It could be your parents, it could be your brother, it could be your friend, anybody. Just have a supporting system, and that is the one thing I learned right now, and that's cool.
Mm.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So, before we wrap up the session, what is your last advice? What is your last word for the audience before we
Hmm.
wrap up the session?
I'm gonna have to think about that. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned throughout medicine is maybe the to think. I think the biggest thing I've learned is that I am resilient. I can get through struggles. That even the most challenging of thing, I will get through it, or will
Mm,
find a way to 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 do something else. There will always be another option, another road. I'm the one in charge of my future, and if my future doesn't go the way I planned, that's okay. Yeah, I think that is it too. Is like I can dream and hope that things will go a certain way, but I cannot control fully the world. And so it's really important to just knowledge yourself that you are worth it and you will be able to overcome things. You just have to keep
amazing,
trying or look a different way.
amazing, amazing, amazing. That's so deep. That's so deep. Um, Thank you so much, Stephanie, for hopping in to be a guest speaker for our audience.
Of
And
course, thank you for inviting me.
yeah, it's a great pleasure, because I know you're very busy. You have a lot of things to settle in your schedule, and you have to just, hop in and just say one or two words for the audience to grab something.
Thank
And
you.
it's an honor. It's an honor. It's really an honor to have
Thank
you
you.
as a guest speaker. Thank you so much. So, if you love this content, do well to subscribe, like, comment, and share to your audience. This will definitely help someone out there.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
You're welcome. Stop recording.